So, picture this. I'm 6 months into my first real management job, and for every single one of those 180-something days, I was pretty sure I was a complete and total fraud. On the outside, everything looked great, but on the inside, I was just waiting for someone to tap me on the shoulder and say, "All right, the joke's over. We know you have no idea what you're doing."
And this was the question that was just rattling around in my head day in and day out. I mean, every metric, all the feedback, it all said we were knocking it out of the park. My team was shipping great stuff, morale was high, they seemed to like me. So why did I clock out every single night with that pit in my stomach, that feeling that I was just an imposter?
And look, this wasn't week one jitters, We're talking half a year on the job. This is the point where you're supposed to have your sea legs, right? You're supposed to know what's going on. But for me, the gap between how things looked on paper and how I actually felt was turning into a canyon.
And the disconnect was just wild. Objectively, everything was pointing up. Team's performance, high. Morale, strong. Heck, I was even mentoring another new manager, if you can believe that. But my internal monologue? That was a disaster movie. My brain was just a constant loop of, I'm failing, I'm just pretending, I'm gonna mess this up. It made absolutely no sense.
And then, just to make things even weirder, I basically got a front row seat to my own past. A new manager, let's call her Ananya, had just started on a sister team, and watching her was, well, it was an experience.
I swear, I heard her say this in her first team meeting, and I had this full-body cringe. It was like a flashback. It is the classic rookie manager mistake. You think being in charge means being strict, making a bunch of rules. You're performing authority. It's like a little kid putting on their dad's oversized blazer. You're playing a part, but nothing really fits. I had worn that exact same ill-fitting suit just 6 months earlier.
No, I'm serious. It was like I was watching a documentary in my head. And here we see the newly promoted manager in its natural habitat. Feeling threatened, it puffs at its chest and establishes dominance through rigid, slightly nonsensical rules. A fascinating yet ultimately doomed corporate ritual. I had to physically stop myself from narrating this out loud in the office.
But here's where the paradox really kicked into high gear. Because even as I was mentoring Ananya and seeing my own growth in the rearview mirror, that imposter feeling just would not go away. In fact, one little incident made it a whole lot worse.
So one of my best engineers, Karthik, comes to me with this brilliant but, kind of risky idea for a new architecture. Now, 6 months ago, me would have been terrified of the potential failure. But new and improved me, I said, go for it. Let's see what happens. And of course, the prototype failed. But instead of getting mad, we just had this great chat about everything we learned. I mean, textbook psychological safety. I was nailing it, or so I thought. And Karthik's reaction just said it all. He was genuinely shocked I wasn't upset. He was bracing for impact, expecting me to be disappointed. But instead, we turned a failure into a valuable learning experience. By any measure, this was a huge win. A clear, flashing neon sign of my growth as a leader.
And yet, that night, I went home feeling like I'd failed again. It was completely illogical. I had just demonstrated actual, measurable growth as a manager. I did the exact right thing. So why on earth did I still feel like some guy just pretending to know what he was doing? This was the absolute core of the problem.
I finally couldn't take it anymore, so I went to my mentor at Kavita. I basically just walked into her office, threw my hands up, and said, "Kavita, I've been doing this for 6 months. Why do I still feel like I'm just completely making it up as I go?" And what she said next, well, it changed everything. I mean, that just floored me. Kavita, the person who had all the answers, who seemed to just glide through corporate chaos like it was nothing, 17 years in and she still felt uncertain sometimes? That was the first clue that my entire perspective on this was just wrong. And then she gave it a name. She called it the success paradox. She told me the goal isn't to arrive at some mythical destination called perfect manager. The real work, the real success is in the struggle itself. The moment you kick your feet up and think, I've got it all figured out, is the exact moment you've started to fail. You see, I thought leadership success was about never making mistakes, always feeling confident, having everything under control. But Kavita just completely flipped the script. She showed me that real success is about learning from your mistakes super fast. It's about doubting yourself, but moving forward anyway. It's about getting comfortable with uncertainty and chaos. My entire definition was wrong. I wasn't failing. I was just finally feeling what real growth feels like. And spoiler, it feels messy.
And then she said the thing that just hit me like a ton of bricks. She said, "That discomfort you're feeling, that's not a bug, it's a feature. That's what growth feels like." All this time, I had interpreted that feeling of uncertainty as proof I was an imposter. But she reframed it. It was just the feeling of my professional muscles tearing a little bit, so they could rebuild stronger.
So, armed with this complete mind shift, I knew I had to do something different. I had to stop trying to project this image of the perfect, unflappable manager and just start leading as myself, imperfections and all.
So, at our very next team meeting, I took a really deep breath, and instead of starting by asking for their feedback on the last sprint, I decided to give them some feedback on me.
I just laid it all out there. I told them, look, when I started, I was totally lost. I was just trying to act like a manager. And I know I probably made things harder, so thank you. Thank you for sticking with me while I figured it out. It was absolutely terrifying and also incredibly liberating.
And their reaction was amazing. Karthik, of course, being Karthik, joked that I was actually bearable now. But then Neha and Priya said something that really hit home. My trying to be this perfect, flawless boss had made them feel like they couldn't make mistakes either. The second I admitted I was imperfect, it gave them permission to be human too.
And the final piece of the puzzle came from my own boss, Suresh. In my next performance review, he basically confirmed everything Kavita said. He told me, "You made mistakes, I didn't care. What I cared about was that you learned from them, and you learned fast. The growth was the goal all along, not being perfect from day one."
So all of this, it just completely changed my definition of what my job even was. I thought I was hired to be this perfect leader who delivered perfect results. Turns out, I was dead wrong.
My goal shifted. It went from trying to achieve perfection to embracing continuous growth. From trying to control every outcome to just creating the right environment for my team to succeed. My job wasn't to show off how capable I was. It was to multiply the capability of everyone around me. And that's when I realized I wasn't there to build code anymore. I was there to build people.
And this, right here, this has become my new mantra. That feeling of uncertainty, the one that used to make me feel like a complete fraud, it's now my compass. It tells me I'm pushing myself, that I'm in new territory, and that's exactly where learning and growth happen.
So I'll just leave you with this question. We're all conditioned to chase confidence and certainty. But what if that's the wrong goal? What if that feeling of not quite knowing what you're doing, that sense that you're just making it up as you go, what if that isn't a sign that you're failing, but the clearest sign of all that you are on the exact right track?